Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, making some good trades as per usual. And like we're gonna do our market recap, we're gonna be taking a look at a market cipher and the indices here. The S&P 500 ranging all the way down to the Russell 2000, where we do a lot of work on. And right now, the markets had a pretty lackluster week, other than that big, massive move on the CPI that we got. That was a definite, gap up in the markets. It caused a lot of euphoria. Felt really good. A lot of people made a lot of money. Some people probably lost a lot of money as well on this, massive pump. And then we'll take it day by day, and we'll see if we get a pullback next week. And again, we are still very overbought. We're due for a pullback. This was option X week, so lots of game playing inside the markets. And that's probably why we may not have seen a dump. Maybe a lot of people were betting on a pullback and playing with puts, so probably held everything up on the Mega Cap 7, on the Mag 7. Everything should be okay, and it kind of was okay throughout the rest of the week. Let me get rid of this SAR indicator right here, and let's get into the analysis. So right now we've been tracking the bullish count and the bearish count for the S&P 500. So right now the S&P could technically still be in this 5-wave up pattern, which should be ending anytime soon. Anytime now it should be finished, and then you should come back down and a wave 2, which would be a corrective wave in an ABC pattern. After that, you should be coming back up in a wave 3 and taking out the previous all-time high around 478. And after that, you'll maybe get a pullback into a final wave 5, possibly into year end or early next year. So this is the bullish scenario where we melt up, right? And we've been following this for quite a bit of time, and we have had a very nice rally off the lows, but we are very overbought right now. All right, that goes without saying. Looking at the daily time frame, again, same thing. This one I could actually count a 3-wave move, which is an ABC pattern, which means that this entire move down here was a wave 1, and this is a wave 2, and this wave 2 should be finished any time now and pretty soon, especially when I look at the mega caps, the Mag 7. They're very overextended as well. We'll take a look at those in just a few moments, and they should be coming down, which means this market could be coming back down in a wave 1, which would be impulsive. And if it's impulsive, it would make a 5-wave move. And that, if that happens, then you really need to be on high alert, and you need to be risk off and be taking a look at the markets in terms of a potential lower low, right? And I don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but overall, right now, this is a big short squeeze, lots of seasonality, and a big buyback program as well in the mega caps, which should be ending, I think, like December 7 or something like that. And after that, maybe we'll start to roll over. But until then, the markets are holding up, and it's coming in with a lot of buying as well. So we got a lot of red money flow exiting and lots of green money flow coming in, especially on the shorter time frames. It's starting to come back a little bit on the 4-hour. The 1-hour time frame, very similar situation as well. I think you made a tiny bit of a nominal high today, or at least a double top in a smaller momentum wave. So we'll have to see if this turns out to be, a bearish divergence in terms of momentum waves. But overall, this doesn't really matter to me. What's pretty important at the moment is that the triple Qs do not take out the July highs, because if the triple Qs take out the July highs, then that would be the first index that's breaking its highs and could be announcing to the whole market that we may be entering this melt up scenario, and it might open the door for a significant amount of more upside, right? But I'd like to see a pullback before, right? I mean, we've got gaps all over the map right now. We got gaps down here. We got one here. We got one here. We got one here. I think we got a small one here as well. And we got one down here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps, right? All this spanning in the range of 2 weeks. So it's very impressive. But overall, what I want to see is a pullback, and if it's bullish, it needs to hold, right? And then you'd have to hold this downsloping trend line that you broke out of. After that, when I look at the IWM, again, this is why I think we may get this bearish scenario playing out in the S&P 500, right? Like this one, where we come back in an impulsive wave. It's because the IWM is suffering right now. It's been in the toilet for quite a bit of time, consolidating for basically the since June 22 all the way to October 2023, or November 2023, I should say, because we're in November now. And I had a bit of a retrace in terms of a wave 2 back up here, and it was an ABC pattern, and it played out very nicely. And it has gotten rejected from our sell area so far. We'll have to see if this is a, let me just move this here for now. We'll just have to see if this is a wave 2, and it's coming, this is a wave 2, and we're going to come back down in a 3, and then a 4, and then a 5, which would start the move of a larger wave 1, right? And then a bounce back in wave 2, right? We'll have to see if this actually makes a lower low, and then the wave 2 is a retrace, and then we retest all this support as resistance, and then we come back down into impulsive wave 3, right? This is the bearish scenario for the IWM. There's also a chance that this move up here that we've seen, right, this ABC correction, actually turns out to be a 5-wave move, right? So if this turns out to be a 5-wave move like this, then this is bullish. So I'd have to redraw an entire new chart with the Russell 2000. But essentially, if you do something impulsive and bullish for the markets in the Russell 2000, then you'd have to count it like something like this, right? And then you would start a whole new cycle towards the upside, right? You'd be taking out all this resistance, and you'd be going up to new all-time highs, essentially, along with the markets. But we all know, I mean, at least I hope you guys know that the speculative money usually leads the markets, which means the small caps, and the small caps have been suffering for quite a bit of time. They could be doing a head fake and maybe going higher, right? Or maybe this was the top, or we're even gonna get a second chance to retest it and then come back down. But I don't know. We'll have to see, right? Anything can happen. And right now, the markets are looking very bullish on the weekly time frame, on the S&P 500, on the triple Qs, the Dow Jones, and even the IWM. The IWM is looking quite good. It's got a nice little green dot on the weekly time frame, but I like to look at the larger time frames, which is the monthly pattern. And the monthly pattern is horrendous. It's a 22 and a -5. It's actually firmed up a little bit. It's a 21 and a -3 now. It used to be a 23 and a -5. But overall, I mean, like, it's still very negative, considering everything that's happened on the IWM. And again, it's had a tremendous rally off the lows, which is probably why this monthly candle is looking so good. This monthly candle is up already 8 or 9% on the month, right? But again, there's still 12 days to go. A lot of things can happen, and if things get a turn for the worse, then the IWM can give up a lot of its gains very quickly and turn towards the downside. So that's why it's always important to keep an open eye for what the patterns could be. We've seen a lot of accumulation at the lows here on the IWM, and we'll have to see if they can pump it higher, right? We've seen it on the 1 hour. They've been buying and buying and buying, and I haven't seen any selling yet, but maybe they're accumulating for a longer term. But we'll take it day by day. So yeah, that's essentially it for the IWM. Let me take a look at some individual names here. So NVIDIA, we're talking about the mega caps, so let's cover some mega caps here. So the NVIDIA coming back in a wave 2 here could be finished now. This was an ABC with an overshooting B wave extending higher into a C. This could come back down in a 5-wave move. So maybe we'll see that on NVIDIA earnings, or maybe we won't. Maybe this NVIDIA earnings will completely invalidate this pattern, and we're gonna just shoot up to new all-time highs, right? Because earnings are expected to be better than ever. Estimated revenue is supposed to be $16.19 billion. I don't even think they've ever done that in the past. So this would be a first for NVIDIA, record earnings, but it's always important to follow guidance. Guidance is always extremely important. So again, Meta could be going a little bit higher. Maybe tag this trend line once again at 342. Google could be coming up a little bit higher as well, maybe right around 140 to maybe 142, and then retest that trend line. Microsoft is a whole other beast. It's actually come back down underneath this trend line on the weekly time frame. So you can see we have these two previous tops. It actually had a nice little wick up to 376, and it closed the week under 370. So you're still under resistance on the weekly time frame, and you actually still have bearish divergence, believe it or not. You got bearish divergence there. So again, you've been making higher highs and lower highs on the RSI. So that's a weekly pattern for you. And then looking at, already covered Google. Taking a look at Apple here. So Apple, I have to redraw this. This is all wrong. All the count is all messed up now because of Apple's very complicated correction. This could be an ABC into a WXY, and it could be starting its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. So Apple's a very tough chart to read at the moment, and I'm not gonna do this live because I don't want to embarrass myself. But overall, again, same situation, very overbought. We'll have to see once we get our pullback, but we'll take it day by day. And then we'll take a look at Amazon here. Amazon actually firming up quite nicely. Amazon actually looks like it wants to go potentially higher here. It's been trying to break this resistance right around 146, and now it's just hammering on this level. So I could actually see Amazon maybe going a little bit higher, but we'll have to see, because right now this is tremendous resistance for Amazon. Right, we've seen these previous pivots as support, right? Support, and then it was trying to hold it as support here, but you got a little bit of trading and it kind of failed. But now you're getting it as resistance, 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 and we'll have to see if it can hold it next week or if it just fails and it goes lower. Okay, let's take a look at some smaller caps here. So we'll take a look at the infamous PayPal. PayPal struggled a little bit today, even with the markets chopping sideways. Small caps are actually getting a little bit of a bid, right? They're trying to catch up to the mega caps, but unfortunately PayPal is still just treading water here, just waiting. I think maybe next week you'll get your pop in PayPal. It could happen at any time, but if you take out this pivot right around $56 essentially, maybe on this smaller wave one, I mean, you might invalidate this pattern, and maybe the C wave is already finished, and we'd have to recount this move up, right? So we do have a target up here, but maybe my targets don't always hit. There's no guarantees in this market. Let's take a look at Roku. Roku acting very well today. Roku up actually 3.8%, on its way up. So again, we've been expecting a little bit of a higher move here in Roku, and it's playing out very nicely so far. Let me just see where I could calculate some targets here and off this pattern that we have for Roku. So let me just pull this up. Maybe we'll go. We could technically hit some higher levels on Roku, but we have tremendous resistance starting at 100. So it's don't be surprised if these levels don't hit, right? So right around 114 to 107 would be your target for Roku. So you'd probably hit your max upside. I would think would be right around wave one here. So right now you're essentially in your fifth wave, I think. Let me just take a look at the count here. So we did it last time, I think. So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then now you're about to break the highs, and you'll head into a fifth wave. Maybe it'll be an extended fifth wave, but don't be shocked if it ends right here, right around the 100 level, or even at the previous pivots at 98. So at these levels, you're probably going to run into some pretty big resistance, and you got big bearish divergence starting to form. Okay, the only way you keep going is that you erase bearish divergence. Okay, let's take a look here at one more. I think it was down here. No, not one more. Let's actually take a look at oil. Oil had a pretty big update today. So again, coming down in your initial wave one, in my opinion, I think this might be your first wave one of a fifth wave. So let me see if I can count 5 waves down here. Yeah, I can make 5 waves down. And now we'd have to see about an ABC correction. This one's kind of tough because it's so it's so impulsive towards the upside, which means maybe this is not a maybe the 5th wave is already done, right? Maybe the 5th wave is done and that's all she wrote, and now it's ready to go back up. But overall, I think we got bigger problems in the economy and in the market. So I think oil might start to go significantly lower, but we'll have to see about that. So essentially, that my count would remain the same. To be honest, I think we're still going to come back down in an extended C leg into a 5th wave, and it'll become a 5 wave count. But that daily reversal was quite nice to see. So oil still holding up here, and actually lowered this trend line because I had it up here before, fitting multiple pivots, and this previous pivot here, and technically it did break it if you're going by those pivots. But if you take it all the way down to this final pivot here, you actually hit major support and you held it. So I guess you could say that we have hit maybe a local bottom in oil. But don't take anything for granted in this market. Natural gas getting pounded today during options X. Again, I'm not surprised. This is an option X week, and nat gas is just making higher lows, and it just keeps trending higher. But it's slow and steady. It's not, a slingshot towards the upside, but this is a pattern that I like to see. Making higher lows, climbing higher and higher and higher. But overall, it's going to be long. This might go into next year, and the same thing goes for wheat. We'll just take a look at wheat quickly. So wheat, again, options X game playing. Not surprised that they pushed it down lower. And in my opinion, I think wheat is getting ready to make a very big move, possibly early January next year. But these are longer term plays. Let me just get back to the nat gas chart, and I'll just leave it there. Okay. Let me just probably wrap this up on yields and the DXY. So actually not the Nasdaq, the yields here on the 10-year. So the 10-year, I did a little bit of a fib retrace here, and it kind of matched up with some of the levels I was talking about, but we could technically still go a little bit lower. We got these previous pivots on the 10-year right around 4.3. We kind of stalled and held the levels here at the 68%, 0.618 retrace. Jesus. We held that level so far, and we actually tagged the 668, which is where the institutions like to go and hit stop losses. So maybe they hit some bond yield stop losses, and then we reversed it back up. 20-year, same thing. I could go a little bit lower, but you'll have tremendous support there, in my opinion. And then the 2-year actually had a nice little reversal day. It was up on the day today. So again, we still have an inverted yield curve. This is problematic for banks, and it will be for the remaining the time that the yield curve remains inverted. Okay, and the dollar getting slapped around today, down to 103.815, and I think the dollar is nearing a potential bottom. You are getting close to that 200-day moving average. We'll have to see if it can hold it as support. My best guess is that you're probably going to hold it, and then you might get a very big reversal up in the dollar, which would be bearish for equities, but we'll have to see, because the dollar right now is struggling. The markets are very bullish. Dollar could implode, right, which means commodities are going to run up significantly. Same thing for silver, oil and natural gas. And then you'll have even more inflation. That'll cause inflation on itself, because the dollar going up does a lot of the work for the Fed, right? It pressures equities lower. But if you have the dollar imploding and collapsing, that's going to cause commodities to go up significantly, and that's gonna cause so many issues. But anyways, that I think that wraps it up for now. I don't really have much to add. We could talk about volatility here very quickly. So again, I had my initial support for volatility around 1430, 1460 or something like that, and it didn't hold. It broke, right? And now you're entering back into the support range for volatility. So you could very well come as low as 1273, which means there's still more upside for the markets, right? They can go higher, but there is probably a big reversal coming here at one point for the VIX, and it's gonna be a big green candle, right? It probably wants to go up so badly, but again, just take it day by day, trade by trade, and we'll have to see if you get a reversal soon. If you see a spike up in the VIX at one point, then you'll probably see a very big dump in stocks and equities, stuff like that. All right, I don't have much to add here. I got no new weekly candles. So again, the weekly candles that we have going on are very bullish. So I'd probably expect the same thing to follow up next week, even more bullish candles, possibly even increasing green money flow. But then we might get that pullback next week, which could change those weekly candles. The daily time frames look like they're about to top out, but we haven't had the signals yet, right? So we haven't had confirmation or anything like that. So don't get ahead of yourselves trying to short this market. And I wouldn't even be trying to short these at this point, because if you are, you're getting blown up on this rally, and it's very impulsive, very euphoric. It's hard to try and fight FOMO and stuff like that. So just let the market do the work for you. Once you see the moves starting to happen and weakness building, then you can maybe try and enter a trade with a tight stop loss. And again, I'll post those trades inside the Discord. All right, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it, relax. Don't stress about the markets too much. It's out of your control. You can't do anything to move the markets. All you can do is place your bets and place your chips, right? Essentially. And the market's either going to go your way or it isn't. And again, SPY getting a lot of it's more selling today actually on the last hour of on that last hourly candle. We got more selling on the SPY. Nothing on the IWM or the Qs, just the SPY. All right. Have a good weekend, guys. Peace.